All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings. I think disrespected is actually the proper word here. Minnesota last year, they went 13-4. All right. Their defense gave up more points than they scored. They went 13-4. Everybody was calling it a fluke. They weren't going to go far, whatever. They end up losing in the playoffs to the New York Giants, and everyone just kind of forgot about them. Everyone just kind of said, yep, regression. They're not going to be anything what they were last year. And I think people are just looking at it in the wrong way. What Minnesota has been doing, and we've heard the word competitive rebuild, which I don't really agree with. I think a competitive retool, restructure is probably the better word. Minnesota is still a 10-win team next season. They're at least going to win 10 games. Now, we could sit here and say, is Detroit winning the NFC North? Is Minnesota winning the NFC North? It doesn't really matter. It's theirs to lose. All right. At the end of the day, the Minnesota Vikings are the NFC North champions, and it is theirs to lose. When we look at their free agent losses, or just their losses in general, whatever, Delvin Tomlinson, Patrick Peterson, Eric Kendricks, most recently Dalvin Cook. You have Danielle Hunter, who is holding out right now. The reoccurring theme is that they lost all this talent. Well, I look at it in the sense of they're getting younger, they're getting more athletic, and while they might not win 13 games next season, they're still going to make the playoffs, and they're still a quality football team. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Vikings fans, if we could get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the world to me. So when we just look at it on paper, once again, everyone was saying, oh my God, they're in so many, one-score games. They keep winning it. It's a fluke. It's a fluke. It's a fluke. When I look at and I evaluate the Minnesota Vikings last season, I'm like, wow, offensively, even with an iffy offensive line at times, their offense did a phenomenal job. Kirk Cousins had a good season. Justin Jefferson is like an actual MVP candidate this upcoming year. I loved getting Jordan Addison in the draft. I have no concerns on the offense outside of maybe like a sliver of not doubt or worry, but like the interior offensive line has my attention, but I'm going to trust the process. To me, it comes down to defense, man. It just literally comes down to defense. So we could look at it on paper and be like, all right, Minnesota gave up over 25 points per game last season. All right. They lose important pieces like Eric Kendricks, Patrick Peterson, Dalvin Tomlinson. You lost pieces on defense. You did gain some pieces through free agency. My Packer, Dean Lowry. You got Byron Murphy Jr., who, if Byron Murphy Jr. last season wasn't injured in Arizona, he would have been, and he already was, a highly sought after free agent. Marcus Davenport, 2 seasons ago in New Orleans, he had almost 10 total sacks. Like, they lost some pieces, but they gained some pieces. And I thought that next year, with Brian Flores as your defensive coordinator, is going to make all the difference in the world. Flores likes to blitz. What was Minnesota's biggest issue on defense last year? It was the secondary. It just was the secondary, and that's the question coming out of the draft. That's just the question right now, is what's that secondary going to look like? When we look at the secondary last season, I see injury after injury after injury. Like next year, for example, outside of Byron Murphy Jr., I'm extremely excited about Andrew Booth Jr. I think a healthy Andrew Booth Jr. is going to be a starter, a high quality starter on this defense. I look at 3rd round draft pick Mekhi Blackmon. I think he is going to be a day one contributor, even though he's a rookie, a day one contributor. One thing I really like about Minnesota and getting Flores is he's a heavy blitz guy. All right. And that's why getting Hunter back is extremely important. If the Vikings lose Hunter, I will not be pleased at all. If he wants to get paid, you pay the guy. All right. He is one of your top 5 players. He is one of your best players. He's one of the best pass rushers in the entire National Football League. If Hunter wants to get paid, I don't care. No ifs, ands, or buts. He's still young. He's entering his prime. You pay the guy. All right. We'll have a different conversation. I will not be pleased if that situation doesn't take care of itself. But we look at guys on defense and I'm thinking, all right, I think they improved their depth. All right. I just think they improved their depth, and defensively, having guys like Hunter blitzing and getting to the quarterback, it makes your secondary's job all the more easier. Okay. So I'm not saying Minnesota's going to have a top 5 defense next year, but what I am saying is this: how do you improve a football team in any sport? You improve through the draft, you build through the draft. Mekhi Blackman. We look at all the draft picks last year who their secondary just continuously dealt with injury after injury, even deeper into the draft at LSU. Jay Ward, the safety in the 4th round. The secondary is going to be severely improved. The defense is going to be severely improved. Once again, got to hammer home the point. I don't think Minnesota is going to have a top 5 defense. They might not even have a top 10 defense. I think more realistically, we're looking between 10 and 16. If the Minnesota Vikings next year have a slightly better above average defense paired up with that offense, I don't care. Dalvin Cook, no Dalvin Cook. By the way, I think the Vikings made the right call. 28 years old, double-digit $1 million contract. I'm all set with that. Madison, Ty Chandler, these guys are ready for that opportunity. Minnesota clearly feels the same way about it. But if that offense is the same or a similar offense, if they're around top 10 like you were last year, and your defense is around average, Minnesota's winning 10 games. And I think if we want to get even deeper into it, all right, who's better, Detroit or Minnesota? Well, we could sit here and argue that every day, all day until the season comes. What I think it's going to come down to is just purely head to head. I think Detroit wins at least 10 games next year. I think Minnesota wins at least 10 games next year. I think it comes down to head to head. So, you can have your own opinions on that. They're both great football teams. I think like a showdown towards the end of the year of Minnesota Detroit is going to be must-watch TV, must-watch football. But my point is this: you win the NFC North, you don't win the NFC North, I don't even care. I mean, it does kind of matter, but I'll tell this, Vikings fans, before we end the video. Let me give you this question. Would you rather win 13 games, okay, like obliterate the NFC North? You win 13 games, you're one of the best teams, if not the best team in the entire NFC, but you lose in the first round of the playoffs? Or would you rather win 10, 11 games and make an actual postseason run, get past the first round, maybe even make it into the conference championship? Well, there's the clear answer here is the latter. Like every single Vikings fan is going to say, I'll take the 10 or 11 wins because, by the way, that's still a great regular season, and I will take a couple of playoffs wins. All right. Worst case scenario, the Vikings just don't have a good year next year, and now all right, Kirk Cousins isn't the guy. We've not entered like a rebuild, but we're definitely retooling and we're getting younger, we're getting more athletic, and you still have Justin Jefferson, and you're still going to have Jordan Addison, and you're still going to have Ty Chandler, Alexander Madison. You're still going to have some nice pieces. I think the addition of Jordan Addison is huge. Losing Adam Thielen, losing Dalvin Cook, but you gain Jordan Addison, you're getting faster, you're getting more athletic, you're getting more reliable as far as just being on the field, having that big play ability. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison, even, definitely throw in TJ Hawkinson, definitely throw in KJ Osborne, not to like discredit those players, but I'm just saying, like, your big names, Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, it's the best wide receiver in the National Football League, right? Jordan Addison is going to make a huge difference on that team next year. And obviously your head coach and Kevin O'Connell, I have all the trust, all the faith in the world. Defensive coordinator, welcome to Minnesota, Brian Flores. A plus move, A plus addition. Like, the Vikings didn't have a bad offseason. I would throw it probably a B plus. I could understand maybe a B, maybe an A minus, but like me personally, I'm giving Minnesota a B plus on their offseason until we see these guys hit the field, until we see the finished product. I'm not worried about Minnesota. It just seems like everybody's kind of not talking about them. All right. That's it for today. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. If you want more Vikings videos, this is my first Vikings video in quite some time. Let me know down below. Once again, let's try and get this video to 250 likes. But give me a win-loss prediction. How many wins will the Minnesota Vikings finish with next season? Let me know down below. Peace.